Hey guys, I'm Melhorn. Have you ever wondered what's inside of an Abu Garcia 6500 Chrome Rocket? Well, stay tuned. You're going to find out. Folks, that right there is one of the finest fishing reels I have ever owned. Yes, this reel is similar in shape and look to an Abu Garcia, but there's some pretty big differences. Now, recently I did a video on this reel talking about it, how it's built, the weight, the cost, and honestly, I can say that as far as round reels go, it really doesn't get any better than this Abu Garcia 6500 Chrome Rocket. Now you may be wondering, what's inside of it? Well, we're gonna tear it apart and take a look. Let me start out by saying I am not a professional reel mechanic. I don't work on these things religiously, but I know my way around them enough that I can get them apart and we can take a look at what's on the inside. First thing we're gonna do is start by disassembling the handle. Now, if you have never done this before, what I suggest you do is take a picture of everything before you go, and it will help you keep track of where all the screws go in case you get nervous about that. There's a little C-clip right on here that keeps this handle from coming off of there easily. As you can see, that thing is very tiny over there. Get that off and the handle comes off a lot easier. Boom, got that out of the way. What I always suggest you do also is tape down your spool, your line here. It keeps your line from getting all wrapped all over the place, going crazy. Let's see, let's take off this section next. Now, there are tons of videos out there of people that are much better than myself doing this. So I suggest if you're going to get into some serious repair and tear down on these things, take a look at some of those videos. I am just wanting to get this apart so we can see what exactly is inside of this reel, and also so we have a little bit of an idea of just how it's built. Now, that's a typical spool assembly that you will see for pretty much any of the Abu Garcia reels. Nothing all that different there, nothing all that special, nothing all that crazy. It's got the little centrifugal brakes on there. Those little things do slide off. As you can see, these things move. Depending on what kind of reel you tear apart, be careful with these things because they will fall off. You'll lose them. You'll be digging them off the floor. Put that apart, sit that down. Nothing crazy on the build here. Looks like an aluminum or very soft metal reel spool, and then the typical plastic gears on this part of it. Inside this side of it, this is some of the gearing that controls the level wind and how the worm gear moves the level wind back and forth. That's all plastic inside of there. As you can see right in there, that white gear, typical build quality on most of these Abu Garcia reels being that way. There right there is your typical plastic gears inside the left side of an Abu Garcia reel, and that controls your level wind. You can see the level wind piece up here. As I turn this, it is moving. That is what is all linked into the level wind, which is a gear that moves back and forth and puts your line onto the spool evenly. A traditional conventional reel does not have this, and your line goes on. It's all about your thumb moving it back and forth that gets it on there. Pull this out. Spindle, typical metal spindle, which is good. I think it would be about impossible to make it out of anything other than metal. With that said, I wouldn't be surprised if there's not some cheaper metals that is going into these things, especially in some cheaper reels. It is really, really heavy. This reel weighs about a pound. It's about 4 or 5 ounces more than a typical Abu Garcia reel. Underneath here, some more screws that'll get this part of the housing apart. Get that out. Boom. Come up. The side. That's off of there. Again, if you're looking at this and freaking out and going, oh my gosh, how do you get all this done? Don't worry, there's plenty of other instructional videos out there that'll help you get through it. Take off the drag mechanism here. This frees up this. There's a little clip there. Okay, get that out of the way. You get this off and it allows this to come right out of there. Boom. And then we're into the guts of the reel. Drag washers there. And as you can see, it's metal components. That's a good sign. Metal gears. Some of the cheaper reels you'll pull open. You never know what you're going to see in here. Most of the time it's metal. It's really the grade of the metal inside of these things is what really separates the good reels from the bad reels and the bad reels from the great reels. And again, metal spindle. Interesting here, there is a lot of plastic right here. This whole mechanism here and this part right down in here, it's all plastic. Now, is that going to be the same on all reels? A lot of them do use plastic in these areas. And the biggest reason is because there's no real wear and tear on this. These are basically just little frames and brackets that hold stuff in place. And it's not the end of the world. But you would think that with a reel at this price, over 300 bucks, they might go with something a little better, but obviously not in this case. And it's good to see that the frame itself is metal. That's a good sign. The more metal you put in these things, generally speaking, the better off that you're going to be. Other than that, the weak link that I've always said on the Abu Garcia reels is this connection right here, and that's where the reel seat mounts onto the frame. It's this little weld, brazed on, whatever you want to call that connection there, that I wish there were little studs going through here that made that connection a little bit stronger than it is, but it is what it is. Just remember to fish these things with the kind of line and weight that they're designed for. Whenever you start putting a tremendous amount of drag on one of these spools, that is when you really overstress these connections here, and it can lead to them breaking off. Overall, a well-built reel. Again, for the money, you're getting something that's good. Frame, well-built, well put together. You know, there's a level of quality that's a little bit higher on these reels when it comes to the metal that is used in them, and I think that's obvious. I do wish that, you know, this had a little less plastic in it right here. That would be nice, but you know, it is what it is. The reel's held up good so far. I put it through its paces, and good reel. It's catching some fish. So that's a look inside really the top of the line round reel that you can get, the Abu Garcia 6500 C3. So hopefully that gives you some insight in buying one of these. If not, I'm gonna have some other videos out profiling some other reels out there that are a little less expensive and maybe suited better to your budget.